All right, well, my watch just struck 1 o'clock. Do you want to go ahead and get started?
Let's do it.
All right, cool. Well, good afternoon to those of you on the East Coast, and good morning if you're on the West Coast or somewhere in between. Thanks for being here for today's Bloomerang webinar, Fundraising on a Shoestring Budget. And my name is Stephen Shattuck, and I'm the VP of Marketing over here at Bloomerang, and I'll be moderating today's discussion. And before we begin, just wanted to do a couple housekeeping items. We are recording this presentation, so if you want to review the content later, or if you have to leave early perhaps, you'll be able to review the whole presentation later on. I'll be sending out the recording as well as the slides a little later on this afternoon, so look for an email from me later today. And as you're listening, please feel free to make use of that chat box right there on your webinar screen. I know a lot of you already have. But we would love to see your questions and comments. We're going to save some time at the end for a formal Q&A session. We're going to save maybe 10 or 15 minutes. So don't be shy at all. Send questions our way, and we're going to try to answer just as many as possible before the 2 o'clock Eastern hour. And just in case this is your first webinar with us, welcome. We do these webinars just about every Thursday. In addition to producing these webinars, Bloomerang also offers some really great donor management software. So if you're interested in that, or if you are perhaps looking for a new vendor, we would love for you to check it out on our website. You can learn all about us. You can download a video demo. You don't even have to talk to a salesperson if you don't want to, which is kind of nice. So check that out if you're interested. Just that's our little short commercial there. But for now, I want to go ahead and introduce today's guest. She is Mazarine Treyz. Hey Mazarine, how's it going?
Hey, what's up, Stephen? Hey, everybody.
I'm so happy for you to be here. You were here last year, I think. You did a really awesome presentation on emails and email newsletters, and everyone loved you so much, so we had to have you back on. So I'm super excited for you to be here. Before you go, I want to brag on you a little bit, just in case people don't know you. Mazarine is the author of The Wild Woman's Guide to Fundraising, and she's also the founder of wildwomanfundraising.com, which is a really great website. It's a really popular fundraising resource. She's got over 50,000 monthly readers, great newsletter, great blog. She also has another book, a real good book. It's actually on my bookshelf. I just lent it out to a budding nonprofit marketer. That book is The Wild Woman's Guide to Social Media. Great book. She's also got some other books, Get the Job, Your Fundraising Career Empowerment Guide. Mazarine, you're a great speaker. You're a great writer. You're a world traveler. You do a lot of speaking as well. You've been a fundraiser yourself as well. And I'm just really excited for you to present this. So I'm going to pipe down and kind of let you get to it.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate it, Stephen. This is blushing over here. I'm so blushing. So everybody, let's just get started. I know people are still joining us, but I think we're just going to have to run with it, and they can always get the recording later. So it's on the people that got here on time. So Fundraising on a Shoestring, this is it. This is the name of the webinar. And the point of this webinar is if you're in a small fundraising shop and you're looking to save money however you can, this is all for you, because for the vast majority of my fundraising career, I worked in very tiny one-person fundraising shops. So if that's you, I feel your pain. And I made many mistakes that wasted us money, and I also made some choices that helped us save money. And so what I want to do is bring you my personal perspective on how you can save money and, hopefully make more money in your fundraising office. As well, I understand that a lot of people here also have the same experience as me. So if you would like to add at the end, we're going to have a section at the end for how you like to save money in your fundraising office. If I don't mention one of the ways that you like to do it, please feel free so that we can learn from you. And everybody here, I think, is very smart and wants to give back and has something to share. So please feel free, by all means, to tell us that at the end. So let's get going. And we've already heard about me, so enough about me. And then now here's your first poll question. The comic here on the bottom is, oh no, my moths. You know how like moths fly out of your wallet? That's supposed to be a wallet. Anyway, what are some of your issues with your fundraising budget? A, what fundraising budget? B, not enough to do more than one appeal letter a year. C, not enough to hire an assistant. D, not enough to get a fundraising database. Or E, other. And Stephen, would you recommend people just do this in the chat window? Is that how it happens?
They can chat in their answers.
Great. Please chat in your answers. I'm seeing some C's. Not enough to hire an assistant. A couple of A's. What fundraising budget? Yep, I know that story. All the above, said Alec. Wow, everybody, yeah. A lot of people say what fundraising budget and not enough to hire an assistant. Right, really good. Too much to do, E. Other, too much to do. Thank you, Andrea. And Vanessa's like all the above. Oh, Keisha said, just got Bloomerang, yippee. And then Linda said, what fundraising budget? Good deal. And Janie said E. Great. Sandra, E too. Wonderful. Okay. Yes, Cynthia, letter is in snail mail. Excellent. Okay, good. So looks like a lot of people said not enough to hire an assistant and A, what fundraising budget. Robin said so many hats, so little time. Totally. So for those of you who are on and you're saying, what fundraising budget? You need to make a fundraising budget, even if it's just like $100. You just have to say like, this program is important enough to have a fundraising budget. So start where you are. But if you don't have a budget, then you're always worried that you're going to be spending and your boss is going to come down on you. But you have to spend money to make money. You do, whether it's with your database, with your appeal letters, with your events. There's no way around it. You must. And so this is why having a budget is so important. And you never know you're going to like be saving money unless you see how much you would have spent otherwise. So it's important to track your money. And then for hiring an assistant, we'll actually talk about that later on in the presentation about how you can get virtual and in-person assistants who are volunteers. And I'll also share with you a tool that I use that helps with virtual assistants that's not free but is very, very reliable too. So thanks everybody so much for sharing that. So the next poll question is, what are you hoping to have in the webinar today? Is it A, new ways to save money in my fundraising office, B, new ideas for getting volunteers to do more fundraising, C, how to use virtual volunteers, or D, all of the above? Looks like a lot of people are saying D already. Stephanie said A and B. Excellent. Somebody said D, D, D. How to do more with less, said somebody else. A lot of Ds, A and B. What's C? Virtual volunteers? We'll talk about that. Wonderful. James said D, 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 D. Hey, James, what's up? Nice to see you on here. Excellent. Yeah, Bobby, you can just respond in the chat window. Excellent. So good. I think that's enough time for this poll question. I think everybody's kind of shared that they want all of the stuff. And we are going to be talking about these things. All right, let's keep going. So here's what we're going to learn today. We're going to stop burning through your money, how to get your printing costs down, as well as getting volunteer help, low and cost or no cost virtual volunteer help, and then finding grants for free, and more. So that's what we'll be learning about today. And I apologize if my voice sounds a little rough at times. I'm just getting over a cold, so just FYI, I'm letting you know. So pop quiz. What should you be focusing on? If this is the chart from Giving USA in 2015, should you be focusing on individuals, foundations, bequests, or corporations? This is how much money nonprofits as a whole get in the U.S. So Marion said individuals, and Jane said grants. Right on. So Lauren said individuals. Mary said individuals too. Audra said bequests. That's interesting. Joelle said wherever you're getting good support already. Right. That's a good point. Liz said my job is individual, so I'll go with that. Yeah, exactly. So Sharon and Darlene said foundations, and Sheila said corporations. Yeah, so for everybody, thank you so much for playing. It's actually individuals. Looks like this could be the thing that I would suggest focusing on if this is where nonprofits get 240, it looks like billion of their money. Now foundations are what we think of, when we think about fundraising when we first start out, with grants, and then of course corporations get the sponsorships. But that's just like, if this was $1, that's just like 25 cents is $1. I mean, wouldn't you want 75 cents instead of 25 cents? So that's why I would suggest getting an individual giving program that's really strong. So Andrea said, do foundations include private foundations? Yes. What's the elapsed time from start to gift for each piece of the pie? Less. Good question. The bequest could be a 20-year timeline. We really have no way of knowing. This is just how much was dispersed in 2014 to nonprofits. So that's that. So here's how to waste fundraising money. This is all tongue-in-cheek, so just take this in the spirit of irony. First, make sure you do at least 4 events a year. In fact, do as many events as possible. Don't worry about who you buy your list from. Buy lots of lists. Don't ask any questions. Keep mailing to these total strangers. Make sure that you pay your fundraising staff little enough so that you get turnover every 10 to 18 months. I mean, why invest in fundraising staff? They're just going to leave, right? Right. So don't do that. Don't thank donors or volunteers. Don't budget to do a thankathon or a fundraiser. I mean, don't worry. They gave to you once, they'll give to you again, right? Sure, they will. So quiz, what is the #1 best way to fundraise? What gives you the maximum money out in the least time? And you can answer this quiz in the chat pane. Is it direct mail, phone-a-thon, personal letter, face-to-face ask, personal phone call, special events, or grants? Ooh, we have some smarties on here. Oh, I can't teach you anything. You all know the answer. This is so good. Brenda said all of the above. That's interesting. Dawn said personal phone call. Ruth said face-to-face. Jessica said, our organization is unusual. We get the most from grants. Good to know. We know it's a concern. Yeah, it is. Personal phone call, said Cindy. Becky said direct mail for us, and Andrea said the same. Interesting. Right on. Barbara said direct mail too. Wonderful. So everybody, thanks for sharing with the quiz. Gary said probably depends on the relationship with the donor. Greta said face if you can get there. Right. So thanks everybody. If I didn't read your answer, just because there's just so many coming in. Christy said special event then direct mail. So some person said, is begging an F2F ask? Hopefully we're not begging as fundraisers. So thanks for participating in the quiz. Excuse me. The answer is, and this is straight from Kim Klein, who is my fundraising heroine, and she's written 19 books about fundraising, and written or contributed to or edited 19 books about fundraising. So I have a long way to go before I can be her. But she says that a face-to-face ask gives you a 50% rate of success. Oh, Beryl said, Lindsay said, I know it doesn't work for us. Yeah. I know when I was in a small fundraising shop, just thinking about a face-to-face ask made me quake in my boots, and I was like, I can't even add one more thing to my plate. I just can't. That was an excuse, though, and face-to-face really does work, according to Kim. And next highest rate of success, aside from face-to-face, which is a 50% rate, is personal phone call, 25%. Then a personal letter from somebody that they know, 10 to 15% return. Phone-a-thon, about 5% return. And then direct mail, which I believe is probably an acquisition mailing, is like a 1 to 3% return. And she said that special events are the slowest, most stupid way, and they're expensive. That's true. I will say that when I worked at a social justice nonprofit in Portland, Oregon, we made about $250,000 with our special event, and had been going on for about 19 years. So it was pretty much a really good way for us to raise money, just because we've been doing it for so long, and that was like our big yearly event. But vast majority of the time, special events are a waste of your time. So face-to-face ask. Susan said most donors don't want a personal meeting, so it's a challenge. It absolutely is a challenge. And that's why you should hire somebody who knows how to get the meetings. or have somebody train you on how to get the meetings. And Susan said it's worked best for us as a relative newcomer to the region, although the organization's been in the state for 15 years. It gives me an opportunity to tell the story, and it's harder to say no when someone is looking at you and it's too easy on the phone. Yes. Sharon said they get you visibility, special events. Totally true. Bobby said, what about social media? Yeah, social media should be under special events as a stupid way to fundraise. I actually talked to a guy who wrote Facebook for Dummies, John Hayden, and he's done a lot of nonprofit webinars. He's worked with a lot of different nonprofits over the years, and I just talked to him face to face. And I said, John, is Facebook any good for fundraising? And he said, no, it's a cultivation tool. You're not going to get donations through Facebook the vast majority of the time. And that's borne out in my personal experience as well. It's highly unlikely. Spending time on social media is really going to get you the donations that you want, whereas if you just go with a face-to-face ask, you will probably get a lot more of the donations that you want and least time in and the maximum money out. So online giving, Giving Tuesday, people have questions about that. That's kind of a combination of online and offline event, isn't it? Because the whole state is talking about it. There's like a big media juggernaut. That's its own separate thing. But I would still go with the face-to-face ask as the best way. And for most people that I know who do Giving Tuesday, they don't make more than $10,000 with it, the vast majority of them. So think about trying to keep up with the pace and tell people to give on Giving Tuesday for a month beforehand. It's still you're not going to get that much return from it versus if you just use that energy to do that face-to-face ask or do cultivation activities with your donors that are the most loyal ones, you'll find that it'll be much more effective. Carol said special events drain staff and volunteer energy and time. If you look at the staff cost to your org, the time spent to do an event well, you'd see the value of face-to-face. Thank you, Carol. I agree. Sheila said auction parties with a purpose actually work for us. Good for you. Wonderful. Just make sure that you also have the face-to-face piece. That's something I wish I had done when I was working full-time in nonprofits. And I know it's hard sometimes to do it, but it's important. So now that you know the best way to fundraise and the worst ways to fundraise, keep doing what you're doing if it's working for you. But if you want to really ramp up your effectiveness, I would invest in major gifts as much as you can. So the next piece is how to get your printing costs down. How can you do this? If you have a preferred printer, someone you're already doing all your business cards and letterhead with, you can ask for one printing free per year for being a good customer. And if you don't have a preferred printer, then you can ask fancyhands.com to research who's the cheapest printers in your area with the specs that you're looking for, and you can see which ones how you can save money there. And so fancyhands.com is a really good resource. I really like it. I've used it for years. I don't use it consistently, but I use it on and off every year. And being an entrepreneur is a lot like being in a one-person fundraising shop, honestly. So you're doing everything. And it costs I think $65 a month for 15 tasks, 15-minute tasks. So if you have some research you want them to do, this is something that I would invest in. I think they even have a smaller level than that. But you just give them the specs and you can say, look, call these 10 or 20 printers, and they'll go around and do it for you, and they'll get an answer for you. And it won't stop until it's done, which is pretty neat. So if your preferred printer doesn't want to give you a free printing per year, then that's something to consider. And the nice thing about Fancy Hands is even if they're virtual assistants, they're actually all in the U.S., so you don't have to worry that your instructions are going to be misunderstood. And they're not phased out to another country where English isn't the native language. So you're helping create American jobs as well, which I think is pretty neat. So that's one thing you can do. And they do other stuff too if you want to ask them to research other annual reports of similar nonprofits for you and see who their foundation donors and corporate sponsors are. They can do that as well, and they can put that all into a spreadsheet for you, and they'll get it done in it'll feel like 10 minutes, but it'll actually be a day or two. But it's incredible. They're so reliable. They're so effective. If you need any research tasks done at all, and those are 3 different research tasks that I would have them do if I was in a small nonprofit. I would do that. Can Fancy Hands help Canadian organizations? Absolutely they can. I know we have some Canadian people on today, and yes, I mean, they'll work wherever you want them to. They're based in America, but they would totally work with Canadian organizations. There's no limit for them, for sure. Just go on their website, sign up, and yeah, they're very, very good. So if you're tired of putting research tasks on volunteers who don't really want to do research tasks and don't actually get it done in a timely way, then highly suggest working with them. That'll save you some effort, money, and time. So another way to get your printing costs down is to print a postcard instead of an annual report. And so this is what the Pan American Center did. And they just sent this out. This is the front of it here on the bottom right-hand side, and this is the back of it. And it just has the address of their annual report here on the bottom, pen.org/annual report 2009. And so I would highly suggest doing that, just because it's really good to think about who is really going to be responding to your annual report. Don't just send it to your entire list. Maybe your major donors get a physical one. Maybe the most loyal donors get a physical one if they're monthly givers, people who have been giving to you consistently for the last 3 years plus. But for everybody else who maybe doesn't really care, they can just go on the website and view it if they want to. And I would highly recommend making it be a very easy URL to understand, nothing like pen.org/XYQWXZ, things like that. And then the way they explain it so that people don't feel snubbed if you've been doing a physical one the whole time, they said, in this time of Worldwide Fiscal Challenge and with our carbon footprint in mind, we are reducing the number of annual reports that we print this year. It will be available on our website. If you would like to receive a printed report, please email pen@pen.org to request a copy. So that way they're clear, they're professional, and they tell you the web address one more time, and then you can just send them a post. That's like the name where the donor was, and so you can just email them and get a copy. For those people who maybe don't want to do email, I would also have a phone number on there. That's one way I would improve this, but that could really help. Paul said, I agree. I get really huge annual reports from orgs I give money to that I never read, right? Well, most of them aren't very good. And I actually incidentally have a course and a couple of webinars about how to make better annual reports. So that's something to think about. So some people have already mentioned this in the chat, which I love. So some people said, ask corporate supporters if they have an in-house print shop that can donate printing, because that is exactly what I did when I worked at the Urban League. So consider a corporation that may see this as an excellent branding opportunity. If you put their logo on the back cover, somewhere inconspicuous, could you get your report printed for free? That's what we did. So this is the annual report that I did for them. And it was all done for free. I found the fonts for free. They helped us with picture cropping. They made it look good, basically. So this is the front cover of it, and who's somebody who had been with us for a very long time, Miss Loretta. She said, "Oh, this looks expensive. How much did this cost?" And I said, "It was free." And she's like, "Oh." So she was pleased that it hadn't cost a nonprofit anything to do, and most nonprofits don't necessarily get that kind of a deal. So that's something to think about, and some people have already said that. Susan said some of our corporate donors have in-house print shops. It's a good way to keep costs down and engage the donor in a different way to ask them to donate the printing costs. Yes, that's exactly what happened here. So highly encourage you if you have a big corporate donor. For this one, it was Boeing in Seattle that offered to do it for us. That's something you should do. And then Kathy said, we started printing a monthly training postcard rather than a full training brochure. I love that, Kathy. That's another really good idea. I know another nonprofit here in Oregon that has just an e-newsletter with the training opportunities. So you might want to consider that too. So getting volunteer help. We talked a bit about Fancy Hands, but volunteers give 10 times as much as non-volunteers. So it's in your best interest to still have volunteers and cultivate them. And so I've tried to have, if everybody here is from US, UK, or Canada, kind of given something for everyone here. So volunteermatch.org is excellent. We've gotten tons of response from that when I worked at a small orchestra down in Austin, Texas. So highly recommend them. CreateTheGood.org, that's from the AARP, and they actually repost stuff from Idealist.org. The neat thing about Create the Good, if you haven't used it, is that it actually gives people a sense of how long the opportunity is going to take and how far away it is from them. So those are two things that make people not want to volunteer with you, is that everybody wants like a super long commitment and it's really far away from you. And so this is what I hear again and again from my fundraising friends. And so what I like to do is I like to go on to Create the Good and say, look, you could have a 5-minute opportunity, or you could have a day-long one, and you don't have to worry about having to like sign your life away and disappoint a worthy nonprofit. So, Catherine said, can you repeat that last suggestion? I think you maybe meant about an e-newsletter instead of publishing a postcard or a brochure about your training opportunities. So that was my last suggestion. But Create the Good is wonderful. Idealist.org is fantastic. Those three are the top US ones that I would do. I know doit.org.uk is UK-based. I haven't ever used it, but I thought I would just include it here for the sake of completeness, as well as volunteer.ca and govolunteer.ca. And if anybody here from Canada has another one you suggest, I'd be happy to repeat what you said and amend this presentation as well. I just haven't ever lived in Canada, so I haven't had the opportunity to try these. So yeah, all of these are good. I would say for me, for us, for nonprofits in general that I've worked at, volunteermatch.org is the best. Lori said Volunteer Manitoba is another one. Excellent. So perhaps Volunteer Toronto? Oh, wonderful. So it's more regional then. So Rohit said volunteertoronto.ca. Thank you, Rohit. I really appreciate that. So I will add those to the next version of this presentation. Susan said Volunteer Calgary called Propel Us. Wonderful. So it's more regional in Canada. Thank you. I really appreciate that. All right. Let's get on. Oh, you can also meet volunteers at volunteer events. Wonderful. And Jill said LinkedIn. Fascinating. And Michelle said volunteeralberta.ab.ca. Thank you. Thanks for making this presentation better. Canadian people here, thank you so much. Volunteer Canada, said Les. Thank you. I should have added that. I really appreciate that. I'm going to change this for the next time. Thank you. So getting virtual volunteers to help you. If you don't know how to engage virtual volunteers, don't worry. I'm going to have a resource on the next page that you absolutely must look into. So I found some more for virtual volunteers for US, UK, and Canada. Grassroots.org, globalgiving.org, and skillsforchange.com. Depending on what opportunities you have, you might want to consider these differently. So Skills for Change is really more focused on like virtual opportunities that you can do online. Grassroots.org, I have a client who lives in Atlanta, and she got her annual report designed by somebody on grassroots.org, and it was a corporate person whose job was design. So they really liked the results they got, so I'm just going to put that out there that grassroots.org seems to be good right now. Global Giving I've never used, but something to consider. And I used to use spark.com, and then they got bought out, and so Skills for Change became the new spark.com, and I'll share with you some results we got from that from this orchestra I used to work at. We asked them to do a logo for us. And then I've heard about Help from Home for the UK and Donation from Canada, and that's another version of spark.com. So I really like their format. You get to give prizes to people depending on what they do for you. So if you have like research tasks, or you want people to look over like a job position listing that you are wanting to put out there to see if it looks good to them, or any legal documents, or graphic design stuff like logos or T-shirts, or maybe a calendar or annual report or something. These are some places to get that help. And I've found success with Spark and grassroots.org, so I'd check those too. Catherine said specific to translation services, Translators Without Borders is an amazing resource. Thank you. I'll put that on here. Really appreciate that. Eliza said, Work Cabin and Good Words also list volunteer positions. I will put those on here too. Thank you. Stephen, I hope you can copy over some of these suggestions into an email for me or something like that, because I don't know if I don't have time to like put these in an email right now, but these are all really, really good.
I'll do that.
So thank you. Thank you so much. You guys are all helping me make it so much better. Thank you for being good co-presenters with me. Thank you. So this is Jane Craven's last virtual volunteer guidebook that you will ever need. I cannot recommend this book highly enough. When I brought this to a meetup that I do about fundraising, people were like, oh my God, I want this book. They were just flipping through it. They're like, this is so good. I'm like, yeah, it's really good. It's really, really good. And she actually gave me a copy, so it's full disclosure. I didn't have to pay for my copy, but I did blog about it, and it's fantastic. It's probably on Amazon or bookfinder.com. Bookfinder is even cheaper. So I'd highly, highly, highly recommend that you, if you have any trouble understanding how volunteers virtually work, or you just want to make sure that you engage them in a really consistent, savvy way, get this book. It covers everything. It has job descriptions. It has where to look for people. It has everything. And if you have any issues with people, it's just so good. Ade said, would this be a good resource for having info put into a database like Salesforce? You want to be careful with your donor data, Ade. I would probably just go with Idealist and Volunteer Match for having people in-house do that, not online, because you never know who they are or what they're doing. So got to be careful with donor data for sure. But other things that I mentioned are totally fine. So getting virtual volunteers to help you. So this was the Austin Civic Orchestra. I worked with them in, I think it was 2010 to 2011, and I was their part-time development director. So they were looking for a new logo to put onto their T-shirts. They wanted to have them embroidered on their T-shirts for their big outdoor concert every year. And so we decided to just play around with what would a new logo look like for us. So this is one of the first ones that Spark.com, which is now co-donation if you're in Canada, or the other one previously that we said is. So anyway, this is one of the first ones that we came up with, and I just thought it kind of looked like a bobble toy, and so I thought, not this one. You know, we wanted something less curly, basically. So I told them, hey, like Spark Gurus, Spark Magicians, thank you so much for helping us with this project. Here's what we need. And so I really made the volunteer job description funny, specific, and manageable. Like, we just want you to come up with some new logos for us. You show us what you got. It should be non-curly. Here's some examples of what we're looking for. And so we looked at the Chicago Symphony Orchestra, in New York one. These look good to us. So, and every time people gave us an idea, we said thank you, and we gave awards to people. They can give awards on these like virtual volunteer websites as well. Joelle said, when using volunteers for designs, you share the organization's graphic standards with them if you have them, right? Absolutely you do. We didn't really have standards. We didn't have anything because we're a really tiny nonprofit. So yes, share your standards with them too. Funny, specific, manageable, and share your standards. Absolutely. This is the second one we came up with, and we thought Austin Civic Orchestra. Well, that's kind of interesting, but not quite right. We didn't really like that A, actually. This next person came up with something that was really dark and black. We're like, this looks like an eye. No. But then this one came, this one here on the left, and we're like, wow, we love that. Yes, it looks like, kind of like some sort of brush painting and Austin Civic Orchestra, like just like that. We really liked it, and so that's the one we chose. Actually, that's the one I chose, and then they ended up like deciding not to use any of them, but that was their deal. So anyway, it's still a really good resource, and you should definitely check it out. Michelle asked, what kind of awards do you give? Inside the virtual volunteer platform, they'll be like, give a star, give an award to some people on here. So if they respond quickly, and usually you want to respond just as quickly to them if you can. So that's something to think about. There's so much that I could tell you, and but this is just a little brief guideline for what I did with them. I actually have a whole blog post about this on Pamela Groh's blog. So if you look up Pamela Groh, I Heart Sparked, you can see more of my description and all the other logos that we didn't like if you're curious about it. So finding grants for free. So finding grants for free. GrantsBase and Foundation Center have teamed up to provide grant research for free. Grantsbase.org/find-us. It's good for the US, Canada, Mexico, the UK, Australia, and a number of other countries. So a lot of people think that they have to buy access to a grants database, and you don't. You don't have to do that. You can just go directly to your central library, wherever that happens to be, and they will probably have a Foundation Center / GrantsBase directory for you. Beryl said love Foundation Center. I do too. I would highly suggest going either once a week or once a month and just playing around with different search terms. Searching by who got the grants is good. So if you have partners that you like to research who got the grants and when they got them, or sister nonprofits in different cities or different parts of the state, that's something to look at, as well as they also have corporations in there. So if you're looking at which corporations care about our cause, our issue, that's another place to find who is given to nonprofits in your area or what they care about. And highly recommend that you check out this resource. It's free, and a librarian will even show you how to use it. It's like you can get really, really specific and use it like a Google search if you want to, but you can also just plug and play and just kind of just explore. So you'll know exactly who's giving what when, and you can see right there they'll have PDFs you can download for, okay, do they accept grant proposals at all? Are they giving this year? Do they only give once every 2 years? Do they, if you want their contact info, it's right there. You can call up and say, hey, do we fit within your guidelines? We have this project. So you can save yourself some time. What I like to do is I like to bring a little thumb drive with me to the library and plug it into the computer there because, they charge you for copies and stuff. So I put in the thumb drive, and then I just go to town and look, and then I just take all of the PDFs that they have and I just put them on my thumb drive, and then I go home and look at a spreadsheet, or if I have my computer with me, I'll just go to another table and plug in and I'll look at all the different PDFs and then say, okay, these are the great prospects, these are the okay prospects, these are the maybe prospects. And then from there, what are their deadlines? So you don't need any fancy software to track grants, at least at this level, for prospect grants. And so that's kind of how I do it. The library may also contain the Business Journal Book of Lists, and I highly recommend that you spend some time with that while you're there. The Business Journal Book of Lists comes from the Business Journal, which would be in your area, which is also in Canada, but it's in the major metropolitan areas of the U.S. mainly, and they have the most charitable companies in there, and they have what they give to as well. They'll have a list of maybe like 20 to 50 of them. On top of that, they'll have women-owned businesses, minority-owned businesses. They'll have the fastest-growing businesses. They'll have the top universities, the top hospitals. So if that makes sense for your nonprofit, those are the ones to look at. And top car companies, top financial services firms, top law firms, it's all in there. And so it's this really big book. And if you buy it online, it could be, anywhere from $75 to $200. So why not just go to your library, and if you want to, just copy out what's in there or photocopy some of the pages from it, because that can really save you some time and energy. So Book of Lists, highly, highly recommend. Book of Lists, the Business Journal Book of Lists. So some people have asked me to repeat that, and I have. Amanda said, U.S. Consumers and Lifestyles is available from my library. You can see people who are giving to certain charity types, their net worth and income, etc. Wonderful. Thanks, Amanda. I didn't know about that. Aja.ca is not free, but it's reasonable, and 3 people can access it, said Eliza. They're constantly updating their information. One grant will more than pay for it. You got it. Yeah, and Michelle said, just FYI, there doesn't seem to be anything for Canada on the GrantsBase site. Really? Oh, that's such a bummer. I thought for sure they were in Canada. I'm sorry. Ade said, can you repeat the website to buy the virtual volunteering book? Sure thing. It's the Amazon.com, or you can use bookfinder.com too. And so, oh, good. And so looks like, Michelle, actually GrantSpace has a organizations in Canada similar to Foundation Center for grant seekers. Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that, Stephen. I really appreciate that. All right, excellent. So this is how to find grants for free. And again, the Business Journal Book of Lists is excellent, and you can see where all of the libraries are here. Looks like there's even some, not very many, but there are some in Nevada, and there's tons and tons in other places. So go once a week, go once a month, but do go. You will find so much. So now that you've heard what I have to say, which ways will you try to save money now? Here's a poll question for you. Do direct mail appeals in-house. Do as few events as possible. Don't pay for a grants database. Focus on major gifts, or forget fundraising. I'm digging for pirate treasure. Which ones will you try to save money now? Number 1, direct mail appeals in-house. Excellent, said Madeline. Wonderful. Holly and Kathy and Susan said focus on major gifts. So good. So glad to hear that. Mary Beth said, R, treasure. Jessica said, pirate treasure. I love we have some jokers here today. That's wonderful. Oh, thank you. We have lots and lots of answers here. Carol said, all of these. Yes, I love pirate treasure too. Beth said, don't pay for the grant database. Exactly. You don't have to do it. Lauren said, focus on major gifts and smaller, more targeted indirect in-house direct mail appeals. Wonderful. Valerie said, win the lottery. Good luck. Catherine said, everything really. Stephen said, prospect research is kind of like digging for pirate treasure. It kind of is. I can see that. Michael said 1 through 4 or follow the rainbow. I love that. Jessica said, but seriously, I love the Fancy Hands lead. I love that. I love that you did that, that you're going to try that. It worked for me when I was working in small nonprofits, and all the stuff is in Google Docs usually. They'll give you the research in Google Docs, and so then you can share it with anybody in your org, and it could be a record of what you do after you leave if you even want that, you know. Lisa said, do as few events as possible. Excellent. Lydia said, do fewer events and focus on major gifts. Wonderful. Sheila said, number 1, using email appeals. Excellent. Aisha said, don't pay for grants database. Amanda said, database. Good. And many people said, major gifts, we already do the others. Good. Very good. Lauren said, focus on MG, smaller, more targeted in-house direct appeals. Good, we said that. And Beryl said, don't forget to mention Google Grants is a great tool for nonprofits. Thank you. You know, I haven't gotten a lot out of Google Grants myself, but I'm happy to hear other people's experiences about that. Christy said, do as few events as possible. Eric said, many state nonprofit associations keep an inexpensive database of state local grantors. Excellent. Sharon said, using virtual volunteer sites. Wonderful. Beryl said, I've gotten 2 Google Grants. Good to know. And I would love to be a resource if people have questions. Excellent. Margaret said, get the board involved. Yes. Yes. I kind of assumed that. Yes, absolutely. Margaret, that's a really good one. Sarah said, I definitely need to get better at prospect research and acquisition to improve the direct mail too. I wonder if there are free resources to improve our list, and thanks for sharing the info with us. You're welcome, Sarah. Yeah, the list that you have, this is the thing. The list that you have, your in-house list will be always stronger than any other list that you could buy. So we're going to go, actually since we're kind of already here, we're going to go your turn. Feel free to share any of your money-saving tactics in the chat, and we will read them out loud, and everyone can learn from you. So yeah, people are already doing this. So back to what Sarah said, the prospect research, people shared some advice about that today, and we will actually be sharing the chat afterwards, Stephen says, so that's good. The things to think about, I'm actually going to be having a a webinar in September with Jeff Streifels of the Veritas Group on how to get prospects and how to do more in-house cultivation of your current donors to make them become major donors. So in his opinion, and he's a major gifts master and I am not, what he said is that you would not believe the power of your in-house list to actually get you major donors. And a lot of people think they have to do a lot of prospect research, but even if you think you don't know any rich people, the most generous people in at least the U.S. are people who make under $50,000 a year. So that's something to consider, though. I recognize that you need to meet all the rich people that you can, no question. But that's something to think about. And Leslie said crowdfunding campaign. Yeah, that's a new thing you can do. Mary Beth said, can I sign up to get your blogs? Absolutely. Go to wildwomanfundraising.com. You can sign up right there. It's on the left-hand side of the screen. So Joelle said USPS has changed their postcard rates. Anything larger than 4.5 by 6 is a first-class stamp now. Ah, good to know. So making your postcard smaller than that will be good for you. Beth said check out the local community college print shop. Love that. Absolutely. Michael said cultivate service organizations and churches and other groups to do third-party fundraisers for us. Yes, that's an excellent idea. Margaret saying get the board involved, and Michael saying cultivate service organizations. That's lovely. And when I worked at a small domestic violence nonprofit, we had a church that gave us a percentage of the offering every single week. So that definitely works. When it comes to, again, going back to the list thing, be careful, be wary of buying lists without asking the right questions first. And I could have put that in here, but that's something that costs money, so I was wary of doing that. But the thing to remember is that you really have to ask the right questions because so many of the lists out there are just not good. And you have to talk to them 5 or 6 times before they'll even give you one donation. And so just going up and asking for a donation right away, unless you have a really good mail piece, is really hard. You might get a 1% return if you get anything. And so here's my embarrassing story. When I worked at a social justice nonprofit, I bought a mailing list for, I think it was $250 to $500, and we had maybe 3,000 to 5,000 names from that. And so I thought, okay, let's just try it. Let's get these people to come to our event. And so many of those letters just came back as undeliverable. And my boss was like, I don't know any of these people. Why did you do this? And so he actually gave me a reprimand and, official, you're a bad person kind of meeting. And so I felt really ashamed of that. And I decided that I wasn't going to take a risk like that again or make a mistake like that again. But actually, I've since learned that it's really important for your boss and your whole team to allow you to make mistakes because that's how you learn. It's trial and error. It's not really about mistakes. It's about seeing what works. And so what I should have asked for this list that I bought that I got reprimanded for was, how old is your list? When was the last time you updated it? Do you use the NCOA, CAS, or Telco databases to update it? NCOA is National Change of Address List. This is just for the U.S. You may have to ask different questions around that in Canada. But I also know you have different privacy laws in Canada. You may not be able to buy mailing lists as easily either. So that's something to look into. But those are just a few of the questions I should have asked, which I didn't ask. I said, what can you tell me about these? And they just said, oh, we can tell you anything, even their shoe size, So one place I've heard that does have reliable lists that you can buy, unfortunately, is Blackbaud. The reason I say unfortunately is because their minimum spend that you have to buy a list for is $1,500. And they also make you share your donor list with them in order to buy that list. So for a lot of people, that's a cost they don't want to pay. And personally, I would be really wary of sharing my donor list with anybody. But that's how they keep their list fresh. That's how they can tell you these people give to your cause because they're always updating it like that. So it's weird. It's really weird. But that's something to think about. So here's a free resource for you. If you like free stuff, I have a e-course called Secrets of Finding New Donors. And I want to give you 9 new places to find donors offline, keys to incredible ways to speak and find new donors, and a free diagram to help you find donors now. So if you go to wildandwindfundraising.com/store/find-new-donors, you will get the first week of this e-course, which is like over $100 for free. I would like to give that to you as a present for coming today. So that is for you. So thank you. And there's tons and tons of things happening here in the chat that I wanted to chat with people about. So I'm going to read out what they're saying. And here's that link again, and also it's been put into the chat. Jill said, link in with your current funders so you know when they change jobs and you don't lose the relationship. Love that. That's a really good point. Sheila said benivity.com is good. Madeline said she loves free webinars. I do too, Madeline. Margaret said make your wills program and accept stock. Yes, really good. Robin said call the news. Yeah, news can get you more donations, absolutely. And we have a thing here in Portland called the Give Guide that really works for people. We got $20,000 for that for the small domestic violence nonprofit that I used to work at, and it was all big money for us. So the Give Guide totally works. Madeline said sorority and fraternities love to do their own events and volunteer. Yes, that's so true. When we were on Volunteer Match, we had a whole sorority want to come and volunteer with our orchestra, which was really fun. Mary Beth said attend local chamber networking events. Have seen people I've met at these events on my donor list. Yes, that's such a good idea. And also the chamber sometimes gives out grants too. Sheila said low cost, good printing resources, nextdayflyers.com. Joyce said ask for in-kind donations for products and supplies we need. That's lovely. Yes, Joyce, I love that. That's really good. Les said, I don't think we can acquire lists in Canada due to privacy legislation. Can you ask the group if I'm correct? Sure. Is Les correct? Can you acquire mailing lists in Canada? Good question. Mary Beth said, bless your heart. Thanks for giving us permission to fail. You're welcome. You need to be able to fail in order to become a better fundraiser. That's just the bottom line. You don't learn by succeeding. You learn by failing. And it's true in business as well as in fundraising. Joyce said, ask for media coverage, print ads and articles, live interviews on radio and television, and digital billboards. Thank you, Joyce. I love that. Oh, Susan said there's no submit button for the free ebook week you posted. Oh, I'm sorry, Susan. Tell you what, anybody on here who wants, I made this late last night when I was sick, so I'm sorry. Anybody here who wants this free ebook, just email me. This is my email address, and I will send it to you. We'll just go with that. So if you want this free week, just go ahead and email me info@wildandwindfundraising.com. So thank you for telling me, Susan. Juan said, what are the best ways to approach donors in a face-to-face setting? Oh yeah, I know you asked that before. And what is your advice when asking for a donation and making them comfortable about giving? It's not a high-pressure situation. That's a really good question, Juan, and unfortunately it's sort of beyond the scope of our webinar today. That's why I would definitely look at some resources online about major gifts around that. Claire Axelrad and Jeff Streifels of the Veritas Group both have really good resources around major gifts. So I would highly look into that. Susan said you can acquire for certain lists in Canada. And Ruth said in-kind event space. Wonderful. Are there any more questions? Beth Barrel said, I'm looking for laptops. Does anyone know a great way to access technology donations? That's a good question, Beryl. And actually, if you have a tech company in town, they might have old laptops that they'd be willing to give you. I actually got old laptops from Intel for the last nonprofit that I worked at full-time, and old computers as well. And we had a volunteer come in and set them all up for us with Windows and stuff. So that worked pretty well. So if it's a big company like Dell or Intel, I was lucky to be in 2 cities that had these big corporations there. That works. So I would try that for sure. Also, Robin and Dawn and Gail are all saying TechSoup. TechSoup.org, yes. Valerie said check with your local United Way. Some have a tech grant. Wonderful. Jessica said check with libraries and local schools. Yes, thank you. TechSoup is a great donation place. You have a library or archive, said Sheila. Wonderful. TechSoup, that's perfect. Thank you for mentioning that. Gary said our school district has a digital divide program. I love that. I love that. Madeline said local universities can donate computers. Thank you. I should add that to this presentation, how to get cheap or free computers. Wonderful. Margaret said donor stock or stock donor accepts stock for very small nonprofits and sends them to a check, minor fee. Good to know. That's excellent. Cynthia said, I've made improv part of my nonprofit since the beginning because it teaches that failure is just a part of the journey of success. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. Robin said, the React Center if you're educational in Iowa or near there. Wonderful. Thank you. Does anybody else have any other questions for me right now? Oh, also, Good 360 said Lisa, and Rebecca said nptechforgood.org. Wonderful. Les said check out for-profit orgs that refresh their hardware. Absolutely. Brenda said you have lessened my fears to fail. Thanks, Brenda. I really appreciate that. Any other questions? If not, maybe I'll pass it back to Stephen and let you take over.
Cool. Well, thanks so much, Mazarine. That was a lot of fun, and thanks to everyone else who was chatting in and making suggestions. Thanks for adding all that. It's fun to see some interaction. Those good ideas. I will send out the transcript of the chat. I don't usually do that, but since there were so many good ideas, I want everybody else to be able to see that. So look for an email from me a little later on. I'll send out the recording and the slides as well as that chat transcript. So Mazarine, thanks for being here. This was really awesome. Thanks for taking an hour out of your day to share all those great resources with us. Some nice hacks there. I would call those fundraising hacks, wouldn't you?
Thank you.
And just in case this is your first webinar with us, we do these webinars just about every Thursday. We've also got a lot of great free resources on our website that you can check out. We've got our daily blog, we've got some downloadables, our newsletter, our video podcast, and the Blue News, which are an award we give every Friday to great donor communications pieces, great appeals, thank you letters, annual reports. You might get some inspiration for some future pieces there as well. We're going to take a couple weeks off for our summer break, but we're going to be back on Thursday, August 13th. For a real special webinar, we're going to have two guest speakers. We're going to team up with social media, or Ritu Sharma from Social Media for Nonprofits, and Eventbrite, the company Eventbrite. Some of you maybe have used that for your events. We're all going to team up to talk about social media for promoting events. So check that out. That's going to be a really cool presentation. We've also got some other ones scheduled out into the future as well that you may find intriguing. We'd love to see you again. So thanks for being here. Thanks for hanging out for about an hour. Look for an email from me later on today, and we will hopefully talk to you later on in August. So have a great rest of your day and a great weekend, and we'll talk to you again soon. Bye now.
Bye.